r/AskReddit by Reddit now. Teachers at Reddit, what is the worst parent conference you've ever had? One time a child peed all over the bathroom in the school. When we brought it up with the parent, they demanded to know why we didn't teach them how to properly use a bathroom. My GF's mom is a teacher in a very poor, mostly racial minority area. She once had a child in 3rd grade, so was on the cusp of being tested for special needs, but basically was approached as being slow but no serious biological developmental issues. This child, on one disgusting occasion, ate his own feces. Yes, ingested, on purpose, his own excrement. When brought up to the mother, the response was, "Well, he was hungry." An administrator in the room responded, "Then send him with some crackers." Ugh. The horror. An unintended one: when an undergrad I was teaching requested a formal meeting with me, her mother, and the dean of the college at the university. She had received a 97% on an essay, and she and her mother were both in tears demanding that I be reprimanded and retrained for unfair grading policies. I think my mouth was agape the entire time. I had a student fail my class and I thought that I'd been emailing with their parents throughout the semester. Turns out the parents did not speak English and relied upon their children to translate for them. Their older sibling was studying abroad, so the student was able to hide everything from the parents. Once they came home, the jig was up. The parents could not believe their child had lied for months, so we had a face-to-face meeting. It was so awful to see their faces crumble in shame and humiliation as their oldest child translated the meeting. Not quite a parent-teacher conference, but it was after I got my first cell flip phone long ago when they were just coming out. An 8th grader stole it. My wife called the phone and the guy who answered was dumb enough to give her his name. It was a parent who was using it. The kid confesses to taking it and the parents came in. Admin confronted the parents about it, explaining that we just wanted the phone back. The parents tore into the kid for confessing he took the phone and told him his birthday was cancelled for ratting on them. Yikes. Parents of the year, for sure. Sadly, this kid is following in the footsteps of his stellar family. How exactly is society supposed to help a kid who has been taught that lying, stealing, cheating, and getting punished for doing the right thing is okay? From my wife, teacher of 5+ years. 2nd grade parent had earbuds in her ears the entire time and looked at her phone the entire time. When my wife complimented her daughter and told her that she was doing well, the parent laughed and said, "She's a brat." Edit. I realize now that this is essentially a scene from Matilda. The child was not telekinetic, but if she was, we'd definitely adopt her and raise her to be a good superhero. Oh man, I feel for that kid. I was talking to the parent of a kindergarten student and telling her ways she could help her child at home. She suddenly said, "Do you get paid to do this?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, I don't." Then swiped all the papers off the table, stood up and walked out. I was like, okay then. I love that parents think kids only need to learn 6 or 7 hours a day at school and they are fine. You are a true hero for teaching kindergarten. I had to tell a well-known gang leader that his son was failing my class. Actually went better than expected, but the anticipation was a nuisance. I've worked with tons of high-level criminals and gang leaders. It's actually pretty easy to talk to them. Just show them respect and don't act as if they are stupid. Being completely honest is usually a shock to them since everyone around them their whole lives usually plays with lying all the time. Being honest with them shows mad respect, and they will often open up and trust you very quickly because it's a trait they instinctively seek out. The worst thing you can do is to be afraid of them because they see that as an opportunity to be exploited. That being said, I totally get where you are coming from. Calling a Hell's Angel out on his BS and telling him to leave my office had me awake at night. The next morning, he came to apologize to me, saying he realized he had been disrespectful and that he respected my ability to tell him off. I think I'm in the clear since it's been years. He actually gave me info later on. Self-serving of course, but still. Former teacher. First parent-teacher conference. I put a lot of time into preparing this evening as an innocent 22-year-old. I gave a 10-minute speech to about 15 family members. They didn't seem to care at all. Then I met with each individually, and they were combative. Some stunk of alcohol. One straight up yelled at me for my grading system. It was basically the beginning of the end of my interest in teaching. Man, that's terrible. I've talked to a few teachers and they've told me that most teachers don't last longer than 5 or 6 years, and I realize now that this is probably a big reason why. I always tell people that teaching is the greatest profession in the world if it weren't for all the other bother that teachers have to do and put up with. Being with the kids, though, is awesome and can be very rewarding. Most parents are awesome and I enjoy visiting with them. A very small minority will try and verbally abuse you or bully you. Kids will twist words and incidents so they don't get into trouble. Some parents can't believe their angels can do anything wrong. I don't know why they believe that. I've ducked up as a kid and a young adult. My kid is no angel. That's not to say that teachers don't screw up and twist things either. I mean, it wasn't exactly a bad conference, but one time the mother of a 6-year-old second grader was pushing for her son to skip a second grade and go to third grade. I tried pointing out that even though his reading and math skills were excellent, advancing him further would create a gap in his knowledge about science and social studies. Not to mention the fact that he is very immature and socially sticks out. She kept on insisting that age was just a number. Finally, I turned to both the mother and father and asked when he is a 15-year-old senior in high school, what 18-year-old woman is going to want to go to prom with him? Then dad was like, hold up. 6 years old in second grade? So he already skipped a grade? This woman is obviously not as bright as her kid. I was 6 in second grade and did not skip a year. I just started kindergarten when I was 4. It's not that uncommon. Once had a phone conference with a parent who accused me of forcing students to come to my house and build a garage for me. The parent said his son was being ostracized and punished by me for refusing to come to my house and work on my garage. The only thing I could do was laugh at him. I thought it was a prank and hung up on him. Next morning, I had to meet with my principal because the parent had called and threatened to call the local news media about my classroom if I wasn't immediately fired. The parent left screaming rant on my principal's voicemail. We listened to it a few times and got some good laughs. The parent claimed I was making the kids drive to my house during class and if they didn't I was failing them. But his son had an A in the class and the drive to my house was longer than the class period. The parent was obviously nuts, but it had to be treated as credible. So, there was an investigation and there may even be a report about it in my personnel file. I've had other weird interactions with parents, but that one definitely takes the cake. I teach 7th grade, and the one that stands out to me was from my second year in the classroom. Probably it sticks in my mind because I didn't feel confident in my job yet, so this interaction I had with a family threw me for a loop. Once, I had a struggling student come in with their family, and I was so eager to talk to his family. I was hoping that we could have some kind of constructive conversation that would lead to the kid's improvement in my class. I had pulled up their grades to explain why he had a D in my class and what he needed to work on to bring his grade up. Next thing I knew, the parents started completely berating the kid, calling him stupid and lazy, telling him that he was a failure. It was horrible. Even worse, the kid was on the autism spectrum, so he just really didn't have the kind of emotional stability to handle something like that. Heck, I don't know what 7th grader would be able to handle something like that. He started crying, and his parents apologized to me, and led him out into the hallway where they continued to berate him. It was rough. I tried to smooth things over by talking them through the kid's strengths, but they just wouldn't be deterred. The kid was sitting on the ground in the hallway just sobbing next to the lockers and his parents just left, presumably to go conference with more teachers. I tried to console the student, but I don't think there was much I could have done. He was just completely heartbroken. Wife just told me another one. The last conference of the day, the parent, a guy, started the meeting with saying, "Do you feel that? Do you feel nervous?" implying a connection and nervously laughing. My wife felt super uncomfortable because he seemed to be coming on to her and sharing personal details about his life. No matter what she said, okay, have a nice night, he'd just start another conversation and keep trying to talk. She eventually had to just grab her stuff and basically leave for the day to get him to leave. Do you feel that? That's my total lack of interest. Yuppie, you've made it all the way to the end. While you're here, you may as well subscribe and click on one of the recommended videos. After all, it doesn't cost a thing. Wubba dubba dub dub.